I've been editing videos for about 15 years and I'm entirely self-taught, which in the 21st century effectively means that YouTube has been my teacher for most of that time. Every time that I get stuck whilst I'm editing, I'll open up YouTube and just find a tutorial about whatever it is that I'm stuck on. And so with that in mind, today I wanted to showcase the top 5 video editing techniques that I've learned through YouTube. Wiggle text. This is a really simple effect that just gives your text that element of a little bit of life and movement. It's made really simply in After Effects. Simply create your text, then go to Effects, Distort, and choose Turbulent Displace. In Effect Controls, you can play around with the parameters depending on how crazy you want the effect to be, but subtle movement does tend to work best. I usually put amount at about 20 and size at around 10. Then you need to click on Evolution Options and Alt-click on Random Seed. Input the text time *10, and there you have it. Speed ramps. This is one of the most commonly used tools in the toolkit of the YouTube editor. Speed ramps can be really effective at increasing the pace of your video, but I find that they work best with more active footage or drone shots, and they can work really nicely for seamless transitions too. In order to create a speed ramp in Final Cut, simply select your clip and hit Command R to bring up the speed. Identify where you want your speed ramps in and out points to be, and then split the clip by pressing Shift and B. Next, you're going to choose the speed of each moment of each of those clips, depending on the kind of transition that you want to create. And lastly, you can tweak the speed into or out of the speed ramp. Quite often, I'll then stick on an adjustment layer over the speed ramp transition, and I'll keyframe in a simple blur effect to emphasize the camera movement, and there you go. Drone shots. Drone shots are everywhere. Try and use them sparingly. A subtle way that you can up the production value of your aerial cinematography is to create a parallax effect. You can do this simply by creating a pan movement that goes in the opposite direction of the movement of your drone shot. For example, if the drone is moving forwards, then you can have a pan effect that will pan out. To do this, you just simply need to keyframe the scale in or out depending on your clip, and this creates a subtle effect of added movement to your shots, and it can make your clips look slightly more cinematic. Background music. Now this one's simple, but it's so important. Isn't it really annoying when you can't hear what someone's saying because the background music's just too intrusive? Now of course you can turn it down, but then you've still got the music fighting for the same frequencies that the person's voice is also fighting for. So all you have to do is add a low pass filter onto your clip and adjust as necessary, and it just brings that noise down so that the music is more muffled and slightly more background. Transitions. Okay, so I left this one last for a reason. I hate transitions. The kids love them though. But the overall goal of the video editor is to be invisible. Transitions can be used, of course, to serve the footage, but I find that more often than not, they distract attention away from the subject and towards the editor. Don't be that guy. I use simple cuts 99.9% of the time. However, there are a couple of occasions where transitions can be pretty effective, particularly if you're editing something that wants to feel fun and fast-paced with a high energy. And for this, my favourite transition that I learned on YouTube is the wipe reveal transition. It's one of those transitions which is really cool when it's done right, but it can be a little bit fiddly to make. I used it twice in this example here for this promo video that I made a few years ago for a local festival. Note that also I use speed ramps quite a lot here, and they were really key to adding to the high pace of the video. You'll notice here that I used this wipe reveal transition to stitch together 2 related clips. For the first one, I used the upright pole in the basketball court to wipe across the screen and reveal a wider angle of the court. And for the second one, I used this girl playing who cuts across the camera to transition to a clip of some of the children's work that this festival offers. If you use this transition without too much thought and intentionality on the clips that you're trying to transition between, then you can end up with an effect that's actually really jarring for the viewer. To show you what I mean by that, I'll give you a tutorial on how to create the effect using these 2 clips that don't go very well together. Your first clip that has the moving element for the transition goes on top of the clip that you want to transition into. It's best if you have something that entirely wipes across the screen from one direction to the other. First, identify where the transition will start and make a cut. Then apply the draw mask effect to your top clip. In the video inspector, set the shape type to linear, invert the mask, and set the view to original. Create keyframes for the transform and control points, and then begin to draw in the part of your top clip that you want to crop out to reveal the next clip underneath. Now the fiddly bit. You have to go frame by frame and change the control points so that they align. It's important to make sure that your mask entirely covers the frame like this for your effect to work. When you finish keyframing, go back to the video inspector and adjust the feather and the fall off to smooth out the edges. And there you have it. I think that this example does a good job of showing you that you can get the transition working fine, but it won't be very effective if you don't put some thought into how to use it creatively and effectively. And those are my top 5 things that I've learned on YouTube about video editing. If, like me, you're self-taught as well, then there's loads of great tutorials on YouTube to help you, but don't overcomplicate things. Simple, clean editing that puts the story, the subject, or the content front and center is almost always the most effective way to make a video. For more from me, you can subscribe to my Substack, where I post 3 newsletters every week. You can also find a link in the description to buy me a coffee to help support me and fuel my coffee addiction.